break this thing down and you can TikTok the mess out of it. All right, ready?
Yep, let's go.
Let's do this thing. Hello and welcome to the Preferred Contractors podcast, where we give you actionable steps to grow your contracting businesses. I'm your host, Jordan Harrison, and in today's video podcast, we have got the world's greatest roofer from TikTok with over 230,000 followers, over 3 million likes. I'm looking at his profile right now. The world's greatest roofer, Mr. TJ McCormack, joining us today to talk about TikTok, and I'm super excited, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, man. It's been great, the growth that I've had on TikTok, but it's also been challenging, and I've gone through all of the things that content creators go through. But I'm glad to be here this morning.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. You're somebody that I've been wanting to talk to about this for a while now, because I've followed your content for a long time. And I follow everybody's, and any content creator, I know what it takes to put the work in and to do it right. And so much respect going on both ways, man. Cool. So let's get into the TikTok stuff first. So, first off, tell us, how did you become the world's greatest roofer, right? Because I know you got the roofing company business. Let's get into that.
Yeah. So back in 2020, I was a lowly salesman, right? Of course, I don't call salesmen lowly, right? But I'm just saying I was just a regular Joe. Out here trying to knock on doors and earn a hard living, or a harder living than most, right? Door knocking isn't easy. I was in COVID really changed the way everybody thought about how we do things, because most of the time people were stuck in their houses for long periods of time because of the restrictions that we had, where we couldn't leave to go do things. Construction workers were, considered mandatory workers, but when you knocked on somebody's door, it still wasn't the same as before, because people didn't want to see you. They didn't want you at your house or at their house unless you were masked up. They wanted to know why you were out in public, right? So when I got COVID for the second time in 2020, I found I had downloaded TikTok prior, but I had never done anything with it. And I think at the time, my TikTok handle was Global Energy Provider. So I was working for, doing some work for Bright Street Energy at that time. And I think when I set up my TikTok account, you had to have a name, so I chose it. Long story short, once I realized that there was nobody on TikTok selling roofing systems, there wasn't anybody teaching roofing, there wasn't anybody actually doing anything other than making crazy videos on TikTok, I knew that I had something, and I ran with it.
That's amazing. And I know it's funny now. I think I saw a commercial or a TikTok ad from TikTok saying there's a new hashtag out now. It's like learn from TikTok or something like that. Or I learned it from TikTok, and the dumb things I've learned just scrolling through is amazing now.
Oh yeah, there's so much has changed on TikTok over the past year and a half, almost. Well, I mean, it'll be 2 years in December, right? Just from what I've seen, from being a creator, and seeing the different changes in people, not just in the algorithm, just in TikTok, right? And the difference in how people react. It's been a great growth, but it's also been very challenging.
Absolutely. And so why, I know you kind of went a bit why you chose TikTok. It's a blue ocean. Did you think about any other platforms?
I had been doing really well at capturing people's attention on Facebook for some time, but I'm going to be honest, what happened with me with Instagram, in like 2011, I got a warning for spamming, right? And back in those days, if you put too many hashtags that they didn't like, they would kind of ban you, or they would give you, warning, or they would even ban you for, I think back then it was like follow me, or follow, the follow trains that you used to be able to do on Instagram. And so I got a warning, and I think that I accidentally locked my account. So for 10 years, I didn't know what was going on my Instagram until I went into the settings one day and I realized that nobody was seeing my content because I had locked it myself. But no, once I figured out Instagram, I've started growing on Instagram a little bit. But back a couple of years ago, no, Facebook was the only thing, but I was only reaching people that were following me or in groups, things like that.
And it's funny you say that. We go hard with Preferred Contractors podcasts in the community. Like we have the group in there so we can put all the marketing and sales stuff, but the reach is horrendous. And it's getting worse unless you're doing paid ads. And so that's why like we started putting content on Instagram. Instagram's growth is steady. We try not to spam it a lot, but we do put stuff out there. And that's why we're like, all right, we have to get on TikTok because we have some really great content going out and marketing, business development, and it's not being seen by enough people that need help. Right. And so that's why we're going to explore that here in the next month. So I'm excited about that. I know one of the biggest questions you probably get a lot when you're out talking with people is how do you come up with your content? Because it's not just you're teaching about roofing or you're teaching about shingles or consumer or business, but you incorporate personal stuff in there. So how do you go about creating that content?
So yeah, let me go back just a little bit. Let me touch on your point, what you were talking about having to do lots of paid and sponsored ads. We're seeing that too with Facebook and Instagram, as well as businesses. You guys, I do a lot of work with the Tim Brown and Hook Agency and several other different marketing agencies. And we've started teaching people, here's a gold nugget, right? We've started people to post to their own page now, and then share it to their business page instead of posting on the business page and then sharing from the business page, because the algorithm is stopping it if they feel like it's branded content, if they feel as if you're trying to sell something or trying what I call a call for action, right? If you're putting a call for action piece of content out, then you're going to get suppressed. And with TikTok, I find that I can be myself. I can say what I want. Unless it's, gets too branded, or if it's got too many things in the background that look like it's a branded video. But nowadays, people should post from their personal page. And why wouldn't you want to post from your personal page? Because now you're reaching potential clients, unless you're really don't like your business or you really are embarrassed of what your business is, right?
Yeah, no, and I agree. And I love Tim. I love his memes. And they do a killer job over Hook Agency, and you're right, I follow his content a lot too. He's got great stuff out there, and at the end of the day, like that's why I post pretty much everything on my personal page too. That's the only way I can reach contractors, and that's the way it is. So but yeah, so let's go into that's
let me lead back into where I was going with that with TikTok. Is that when I'm creating content now, I'll be glad to show you my phone whenever, and I'll show you at any moment whenever I meet you in time. A lot of people try to prepare their content and they leave it as a draft, right? And that's okay. That's very okay for people to do, because sometimes you get parts and pieces, and maybe you have an idea, and then maybe you want to come back to that idea later when you want to be more creative. But honestly, I create all of my own content off the cuff right now. I don't save anything. Whenever I have an idea, it pops into my head. Karina, my better half will tell you. There are some times where I just get my wheels turning and I start thinking about creating content, and the kids will be doing something, and or she'll be doing something, and everybody's trying to talk to me, and I'm like, you guys have to hold on. I've got I've got something going on in my head that I need to get out. And typically whenever I can get that content spit out, then I'm back to normal, right? But I'm just an artist, if you will, when I'm creating content, because I'm just trying to figure out what it is that I'm trying to put on paper, but really I'm trying to put on video.
Yeah, and I think I follow the big names, the Gary V's, and for contractors, I feel like they have the biggest advantage because they can document everything they're doing every single day. Yep. Take that phone out. Everybody's got an iPhone or Android. Android. Right.
Right. You don't work for me if you have an Android.
Yeah, no, yeah. I've got Apple everything. Apple
Right.
phone is recording this podcast, Apple computer. So anyways, besides that, but yeah, pulling out your phone, and the cameras are so nice on those things now that went down to a client and shot majority of the work last week on my iPhone. Didn't need anything else.
Yep.
And so I think the biggest advantage is just documenting what you do every day, and showing people the transparency behind everything, and how you do things, because that is, God, that's so huge. And I don't think people realize that. Like, when you go through and be like, hey, this is how we're putting on the roof. Here's our crew that's actually putting these shingles in. This is how they're doing it. This is why they're doing it. Like, explaining that, people have no clue. I haven't had to pay for a roof since I've owned a home, right? But when it's time, I'm going to want to find somebody that shows me and walks me through the process.
Yeah. And the problem with roofers, and you've seen my content before, where I talk a lot about don't sell roofs to roofers. And what I mean by that is that there, over the years, I'll tell you when, 2015, 2016, roofing content became very popular. And it was more about the content creator and the roofing company owners out there that were out there every day saying, let's go get on roofs. Oh man, look how fun this is, and that's great motivation for salespeople. But it was never really touching on why the homeowner should buy a roof from you, or what it is that makes you different from the other 5,000 roofers, for example, in DFW market. And you have to be able to pull heartstrings often in order for people to buy. People who buy things, it's an emotional experience for them, especially when it's more than a couple $100. And you have to be creative in the ways that you reach people and get them to want to trust you and to also buy from you.
And I think, and here, some of the things I like about your content is you're really good at telling stories.
Yeah.
And that's what people miss out on. And I struggle with that. I will say this, as a content creator, I struggle with telling stories because I'll get into, I went from education, right? I'm a teacher. And I taught for 15 years. And so I know these things have got to get out to the person, right, for them to learn. And so, but the most impactful things are stories. So I think if anybody takes anything away from what you've got going on, is how you tell a story and how you pull from the emotions.
Being able to stop and start a video at certain points, yes, it might take you 10, 15, 20 minutes to create a video, but it gives you an opportunity to think about what you're going to say next, and to what I call do the plot twist. I'm good at changing the plot, where I might start off one way and then at the end it's like, whoa, what just happened here? Right. Visually stimulating, audio stimulating pieces of content that people will want to watch, and then people, the more you can get them to watch a video all the way through, the better, because you only have a couple of seconds to reach somebody, because everybody's attention span's worse than what it was pre-COVID, because we're trying to find where we fit in this world now, because everything has changed.
Absolutely. And for those, in terms of equipment, you said sound for a moment. So what, because this is an excuse for some people, what equipment do you actually use? I think I know, but you tell me.
This is it. Nothing else. I even said that the other day. I have a bias, and complete, please, if you're watching at home, please don't take the offense to this, because I really appreciate your abilities to go buy really expensive merchandise and things that people sometimes need and sometimes they don't. I don't like paying for things that I can do myself. And I don't like spending more money than I have to, because it's so easy to I just got this iPhone 13. The only reason I have a 13 right now is because my son needed a 12, or he took my 12, but I just upgraded. But when I'm live, I use the phone, right? When I'm making my content, I'm in the middle of the store, I don't have a camera, or if I'm out on a roof, I don't have a fancy camera. I don't have a content person following me around, taking videos of me every day. As a matter of fact, I've been talking about this in and the one industry, one model. We'll get into that in a little bit, but during these times, I still have a crutch, and my crutch is that this is how far I can get away from my camera. But going back, like, you don't need anything more than what you have, as long as you clean your camera screen lens off, and and you make sure there's nothing obstructing your audio. I have 150 million views using a phone camera.
That's all you need.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need anything more. And there's no excuses for people to not create content other than themselves.
Yeah, and that's hard. I had Patrick Carr on here, I don't know, many weeks ago, and he talked about the one thing he said was give video its due. It's hard, and it really speaks to you personally. Like, you gotta have control, or not control, but you gotta have that confidence in yourself to hop on and be okay with the negative naysayers, because you're gonna have them. We all know it, and it's hard to get past that first step.
My entire life, I was taught to be a certain way. I was taught to, we don't talk about our problems. We don't talk about our wins. We don't talk about anything in public, because we don't know what the neighbor is going to say about us. We don't know what our family is going to say about us. Because many people are like that today, right? And it's unfortunate, but it's also fortunate, because sometimes we don't really want to hear what that guy has to say or that lady has to say. And TikTok isn't for everybody, and content creation isn't for everybody either. But going back, my mom would get on me when I was younger about talking to people about things that were happening at our house or happening in our lives. And then I became a police officer, and I became very closed off to the world. And I wouldn't talk about things that were happening with me or feelings I was having, because I didn't really want anybody to know. And when I started doing TikTok, it took me 4 months to actually open up. And I tell this story often. I'm standing in the middle of a blizzard in Denver here in my driveway, and I'm trying to create TikToks. And I'm trying to learn how to create better TikToks, because I had a couple of videos do okay, nothing like crazy, like millions of views, but there was a song playing on my phone, and it was a sound that I wanted to use, and it was "Lose Yourself" by Eminem. And I'm listening to this song, and if you know the song, it says you lose yourself in the moment, you own it, you never ever let it go, you only get one shot. And I took that opportunity right at that moment. And as soon as I thought about that, like, nobody else in this world matters except for me, right? In my content. And I was able to open up, and I was able to be on camera more. I was able to say more things. I was able to not be shy or embarrassed of what I was going to say. And once I realized that nobody else mattered, my content just took off.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And that's a hard leap, though. It is.
Yeah.
I told somebody the other day, I forgot. Somebody's like, "How long have you been creating content?" I said, "Technically, since 2006."
Right.
The reason why is when they started coming out, that was about the time they came out with video podcast, and I did one for a guitar class. And so I saw those old videos. I said, "Man, I've actually been doing this for 15 years. Just didn't think about it." And that's crazy stuff. But no, I'm with you. The personal side, I think, is important too, because that's also the connection and that trust you're going to build with people, and to realize that we're all not all that different.
No, we're not. And back in those days, I was trying to create content too. But in my police car, I had a VCR deck, and that's how I created. That's how I would capture my video. Right, everything was on video, but it was in a VCR tape. And if you got into a pursuit, those pursuit tapes were worth a lot of money to the cops TV shows or to the other TV shows. So, but no, I didn't really ever win back then.
That's funny. So let's get into some nerdy stuff real quick. How do you track the metrics? Do you even look at the metrics at all?
Yes, I do. I do. So yes, there are certain types of metrics that yes, I do follow. Right now, I'm not currently tracking any other analytics other than views, profile views, things like that. I'm not doing any what we call KPIs. because I don't have any calls for actions out for right now. Like, am I asking somebody to get on their roofing system? And am I asking somebody to come work for me? Am I tracking whether or not I'm getting leads today? I've gotten leads all weekend that I've given away. I've had people ask if I'm still recruiting this weekend, but I'm not really tracking it on a higher level right this moment.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask. I know people probably ask you, do you get leads from this platform? I imagine
Yes.
so.
Yeah. I get, anytime I ask for a roof, I can have a roof. And that's not being, I'm not trying to be, I don't know what the word is. I'm really not trying to sound like I'm better than what I am. But if I go on TikTok right now, I could ask for a roof and I could have 10 people say that I could come and get on their roof today in the matter of about an hour.
I believe it. I believe it. If you're ever in Alabama, you can hop on mine.
I think you saw my video I did recently where I was wearing that blue shirt and t-shirt, and that's exactly what I did. I wanted to show people that just how easy it is to ask and not be scared to ask, because when we're door knocking, we ask people to get on their roof, right? That's the very hey, I'm here, I'm TJ, I'm working with who XYZ roofing, and we just had a recent hailstorm. Can I get on your roof to do a free inspection? So instead of doing it at the door and having to walk 7-8 miles in a day, maybe getting on 3 or 4 roofs, I'm asking on camera. I'm bypassing the door to where people are sitting on their couch, watching me on their phone, and I don't have to worry about going out in the heat or going out and doing the activity when I can just reach that person right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it's even if you're not on TikTok, there's still other platforms that you can use, right?
Instagram is becoming great for that.
Yeah, and what's fantastic is if you edit, and this is getting nerdy, but if you edit outside the app, you got both platforms you can attack. It's a copy and paste type deal, which that's but I think the in-app part of TikTok has gotten really smart, where they made it so easy to record in-app that it's like you're gonna have to do a lot of work to get it over to a reel or YouTube short. So I think they got real smart with that.
One of my things that I say about TikTok is that there are some times where I want to make sure that I keep the content on my phone, right? Where I record it on my video camera and then I upload it to TikTok or whatever. And the reason is that if I record it on the TikTok app and it goes viral, I can never share that as an original video again, because now it will always forever have a watermark. And this is for people who don't quite understand content creation yet, but once you start creating content that gets millions of views, it becomes you want to be able to reshare that at another time, because the algorithm still picks that video back up again and will take that video viral again. But if it has that watermark, it usually gets suppressed.
I didn't know. See, I didn't know that, but
Yeah,
that's why I still edit everything outside anyway, and I use I like to use CapCut.
Yeah, I like CapCut, the free video editor.
Everything you need right there in one app to get going on TikTok for sure. So, what is your recommendation for contractors to get started creating video content? Like, give them like one big tip to get them over that edge?
There's one analogy that I typically use for most things in life, and that's keep it simple, stupid. Okay, KISS. Don't overthink your content. Don't overthink what it is that you're trying to do. People will like you for you, and if you just put that camera in front of your face and tell it is what you want them to know, they're going to get your point. And if you want to show them a roof you're on, show them a roof you're on. But just keep it short, but also make sure that you're capturing the audience's attention. Don't do crazy things that are going to get you in trouble with OSHA or somebody else in the world, because the algorithm also understands when people do dumb things, and they'll either block your content, they'll put you on probation if you do things that are outside of the realm of norm, right?
Yeah, and I just for the first time ever, I got into Facebook jail the other day,
Aw.
30 days couldn't go live, which is fine. Everything's pre-recorded anyway. So I do go live every once in a while, but I don't go as often as I should because I have the
Right.
little kids at home a lot. So if I try to go live, I may have a 3 or 5-year-old running going, Daddy, what are you doing? What are you doing? Can I see? And they're in the
Yeah.
camera doing
A
crazy
lot of
stuff.
times here recently, I've been doing my lives while I'm just working, and I'll just post up my camera and I'll just be working on my computer and I'll just have it running. And before I would do 4 a day, so it'd take me at least 2 hours total a day.
Hmm.
And like you said, it takes a lot to do live videos, but you have to do it because you have to interact with other people and people have to interact with you. The more that other people interact with you on your live videos, the better your videos do. And that's not a gold nugget. That's something that people have been teaching for a long time. Like I was told yesterday that Lee Hate's been saying forever, to make sure that you're liking people's comments, you're double tapping the screen, you're commenting, you're sharing the post. And that's just something that TikTok really loves about people in their lives.
Yep, absolutely, man. So let's finish up here with one industry, one model tool real quick
Yep.
before we roll out. So talk real quick, success, how's it going? And how can people get access and find you guys on tour?
Yeah, over the past year, Jen Silver, who's my business partner, she's the owner of Roofing Utah. She's become very popular with the way that she presents information. One industry, one model was based around a finance model, where roofers who are typical storm chasers can add this tool to their tool belt to be able to finance roofing systems versus always worrying about whether or not they should always go after insurance, right? Now I'm not going to give away the model today for free, but with Jen approached me around the time that we were at SRC Summit in I think it was January, and said, "Hey, I'd like to do this road event. Would you be on board?" And at that moment, it was just us talking about it, but it came to fruition. Tim Brown and the Hook Agency and Bia and Sydney over at Hook as well took it by the horns. And we've just been growing this conference across the country in 11 different cities. The first 2 events were Indianapolis and Minneapolis. We had pretty great speakers at both locations. Jim Johnson, Chuck Toki, John Paramore, myself, Jen, Tim.
Yeah.
I don't want to forget any. Benny Fisher. There's so many. So please forgive me if I forgot your name. It's not that I forgot. But Patrick Carr was there as well doing content. He's doing a biography on Jen. But we wanted to be different. We didn't want to be like a normal conference where you go and it's a big hoorah and everybody gets motivated to go sell. This is more than just sales. This is how to take your business by the horns and bring it into the 22nd century, right? 2022 is different than 2019. And there are a lot of people that are teaching roofing, which roofing as a trade is easy, if you will, right? Putting a roof on. But running a roofing business is ever changing because of all the new regulations, all the new laws, all of how insurance is working with homeowners, how insurance companies are working with contractors. But what we wanted to do is make sure that we show you a different way. Not saying you should take away this way, but we're showing you this way that works easier for us and how to grow a little bit better.
That's awesome, man. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, look, I know we're approaching up here the 30-minute mark. Real quick, what are 2 things? One, how can they get in touch with you about video content? That's the first thing. And then
Yeah.
second, how can they get access or find you guys on tour for one industry, one model?
Yeah, so I do a 2-day class, or we could even do a 1-day class or seminar for a nominal fee. It's not very much. It's a lot less in the grand scheme of things. Where I come in and I teach you everything that I've learned on TikTok, and then also go over how to create content with yourself, with others, with your roofing company, how to brand and co-brand your roofing company together with your salespeople. And I'll fly in, stay the evening, we'll work through 2 days of work, and then you'll be able to reach out to me at any time. My phone number is 819-5924, or you can reach me at tj@worldsgreatestroofer.com. And I'll reach back out to you just as soon as I get that message. And then One Industry, One Model, very simple, oneindustry1model.com. You could go there, you can look to see our next locations. Next locations coming up are Denver, Orlando, Nashville, Philadelphia, Salt Lake City, Charlotte, North Carolina. So we're looking forward to being at those locations and growing. And then we're excited to have a big announcement later on today. I think you already know that, but I want to make sure that we get it out to the world here in a little bit.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything, but I know you secured somebody big right before we hopped on here. So I was like, nope, that's your place, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
Awesome. Well, TJ, man, thank you so much again for hopping on today, talking about video content, and of course the One Industry, One Model tour. Both fantastic. Check them both out. We'll put everything in the show notes below, so you have all that information as well. And man, thank you so much again,
Jordan. Thank you for having me, man.
And thank you guys again for listening to Preferred Contractors Podcast. As always, if you're not in our community group that's on Facebook, hop on the Facebook, search in the group settings, search Preferred Contractors. It's always the first one that pops up. Hop in there. We've got everything in there from business development, marketing, branding, you name it, video content that you can leverage for your contracting business to help you guys grow and get to where you need to be. So thank you guys again for listening. Till next time.
Thank you.